found yourself struggling with your low register, especially low C, C sharp, and B, in terms of sound, responsiveness of articulation, technique, and overall just feeling really stressed, this video is for you. I'm going to share 7 of my favorite tips for the low register with you, plus some playing examples and my favorite exercises. Tip number 1 is at the top of the list because it's one of the most important to me, and it's stability. When you're descending into the low register, or if you suddenly have a low note in your piece, it's really easy to do something like this. If I lower my flute, my hands, my arms, and or my head as I descend to the low register, I've lost my stability. I've lost my stability of sound and airflow and good angles. If those notes just before the lowest notes were sounding good, it's a good chance it would have worked pretty well if I stayed there. I might need to aim my air a little bit lower, but not with my whole upper torso. Just the lips if needed, and especially I need to keep my right hand stable. It doesn't need to change position in space just because there's a low note. It should stay exactly where you are. So think of that right thumb as your little shelf that's keeping you super stable so you can maneuver those foot joint keys. Along the same lines of stability comes the idea of how we're thinking and how we're allowing ourselves to flow through the low notes versus fighting with them or thinking that they're really hard and doing something extra. If you find yourself thinking, oh no, here's a low C, my low Cs don't come out very well and I have to kind of work harder for it, that's going to add that extra level of work and potentially movement that could actually make it harder. Instead of thinking down for low notes, think forward, phrase through, go beyond the low notes, float, stay easy, spacious, tall, and you might notice that it's a little bit easier. Everyone's favorite Flute Music by French Composers book has a few lovely examples of this. Next, let's talk about tension and some of the most common areas of tension we can notice. Low notes tend to really love a low center of gravity in the body, a really grounded body feeling that feels free or spacious, available to move. And I like to play my first notes of the day with a bend in the knees, really feeling the floor supporting me, feeling springy, moving at the hip joints, hanging my arms to help me let go of any of that upper body tension, which also sometimes comes from trying too hard to sound good. So you might notice that you can breathe into your back a little bit more. So try to let your lower back widen, let the neck go, let the jaw go. Another great way to practice this is to lean your back against the wall and bend your knees a little bit. You might find that there's a little bit less tension in your back. You can sense the space behind you and breathe into your back a bit more fully. It can be a nice way to feel the support of these low notes without overdoing any effort. Jaw, tongue, face muscles, and back of the neck can be really tight when we're playing low notes. So find an ease to the back of the neck. You can find your AO joint with help of body mapping and let go here. I'm always wobbling as I play so that I'm not getting stuck or tight. Easy in the collarbones and arms, all the way to the pinkies from the back. And let the jaw truly hang and see what that feels like to let go of muscles of the cheeks. Let the jaw hang a little bit lower. If I were pulling my jaw closed, tight in my embouchure, pulling back against the teeth, tight in the back of the neck, it would be really difficult, especially to articulate. When the jaw opens, it swings down and back a bit, and the air naturally can go lower, so it's a little bit easier, plus that spaciousness is really important. If you struggle with wrist tension or moving the pinky around the keys fluidly, you may be holding a lot of tension in your upper body, your arm structure, your shoulders, even your neck muscles. So releasing tension and remembering the full length of your arm is really going to help alleviate any tightness and isolation of pinky that could be getting in the way. Body mapping instructs us to notice that our arm connects from our collarbone to our sternum, and imagine the length all the way down from the collarbone through the end of the pinky. We have a lot of length there to help us move our pinky around in space. So if we're stopping and tightening and just trying to move the pinky by itself, we can get really stuck and quite tense. So let the arm move a little bit, let the wrist move. You can see my forearm move a little bit to roll around versus trying to be stuck and tight. I immediately feel that tension. Another really common issue is if you're playing with open holes, any open holes, even just one in either the left or right hand that could leak open, can make those low notes not speak. I'm gonna slide my finger off of each open hole so you can hear the sound coming and going on that low C. It's important to notice that the left hand can influence our sound if we have any open holes, so check in there. But the right hand can really start to move around a lot when the pinky especially starts to slide. I notice that the right hand third finger can tend to slide around quite a bit as we slide around the pinky keys. So noticing precision and sensing that the pads of the fingers are really covering and feeling those open holes while the pinky is maneuvering around is really, really critical. In addition to being precise and fully closing our open holes is the idea of preparation for lowest notes by hovering. The second movement of the Godard suite for flute and piano around rehearsal B is a perfect place to notice and utilize this because we have G's going to C's, and on the G we can prepare and hover over the keys 1, 2, 3 and our pinky key to prepare to fully close and seal all 4 fingers at the same time so that our sound speaks right away. Hopefully you could see my pinky releasing off of the normal D sharp key and jumping over and actually touching and hovering over the C key. Plus fingers 1, 2, 3, I'm feeling those open holes. I can feel all 4 keys under my fingers, so I know that I'll lower and precisely close each of them at the same time for an immediate response of the low C. This especially comes in handy if you're about to articulate a low note. That immediate close of all keys at the same time can really benefit articulation and response clarity. Another beneficial point to check in with is your foot joint position to make sure that it's beneficial to you and your individual hand size and shape. It's fairly standard to point the rod to the center of the last key on the body of the flute, but some people benefit from rolling it slightly forward or back of that point. So experiment and see what works best for you because we all have different sized hands and sized fingers. If you haven't had your flute serviced in a while and you're still struggling, it could be worth taking your flute in to be serviced so that you can remove any leaks and help some precision in movement. If you do have leaks and you're fighting with that, you could be introducing habits of tension and squeezing, trying to get those notes free, and that in the long run doesn't really help us. So I'd really recommend maintaining your flute and making sure that it's working properly so you can have the easiest time playing and practicing. These are some of my favorite exercises that transformed my low register playing in terms of sound, technique, and articulation. And whenever I come across low notes as a result of practicing these, I feel like I have the skills to not stress. It's super easy. The first and most transformational low register exercise was introduced to me in grad school by Professor Eva Amsler. It is from Moyse's Studies and Technical Exercises. Number 5 and number 12 are for the low register. I still do this one every single day. With Professor Amsler, we would practice this with vibrato pulses, singing and playing, breath attacks, varied articulation, and I find it so beneficial, not just for low sound, but the responsive articulation, and also the fingers have a chance to jump around some of these pinky keys. wonderful exercise for having a lot of low register confidence is the first exercise in Moyse's 20 Exercises and Studies book. This is a great one to do after you've warmed up your low register because we have large intervals. I also really like to use breath attacks with this one first and then a slow slur to watch the angles change. My Effortless Low Register Warm-Up is a free download on my website, and I compiled it because it combines all the skills and exercises I feel I need to quickly find my low register. You can find a free download of the Effortless Low Register Warm-Up on my website. I'll leave a link in the description box below. In the warm-up, there are 4 sections for airflow, angle finders, vibrato, and octave slurs. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and leave a comment if you tried any of these tips today or to share one of your own, and I'll see you in the next one.